Judas here. Today I'm going to bring you my Stamina Templar PvP build that I'm playing in the current Harrowstone patch. This is a true damage build. It's so strong, great survivability, great fun to play. As always, in the pinned comment there'll be timestamps to skip through the video. The video starts at 4 minutes 6 seconds with the build, but first I'll roll some gameplay.
I wanna say something, yeah. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know where she came from, but goddamn, I wanna say something. She a dime, wanna make her mine. Heard through the grapevine, she a great time. Yeah, it should be a goddamn crime to look that damn fine. Gotta lock her up and throw away the key, or you could lock her up and give the key to me. Take it down low, drop it down to the ground floor. I just wanna go and explore. Ooh, baby, I just want more, I want more. Got a body like a rock star. Yeah, that shit is looking rock hard, yeah, rock hard. I would put her on the roster, cause she keeps on getting hotter and hotter. Ooh, baby, let's go. She doesn't take it slow, she's putting on a show. She's acting like a pro. Oh baby, let's go. She doesn't take it slow, she's putting on a show. She's acting like a pro. Oh baby, let's go. She looking straight from the city. Oh man, she looking so pretty. Goddamn, I'd like to get busy. Yeah, so baby girl, come with me. Yeah, we take it outside, oh yeah. Wanna stay up all night, oh yeah. Wanna get it all right, oh yeah. Now she wanna skip the side. She got a fine ass body with her head on straight, and she look a little naughty, but that's a-okay. Now I wanna get a drink, just you and me. I don't really wanna think, I just wanna be. She giving third-degree burns, man, I think I need a doctor. Got me concerned, cause she got me hot and bothered. Everything she earned, didn't get it from her father. Man, you think I learned, but she turns me to a monster. Let's go. She doesn't take it slow, she's putting on a show. She's acting like a pro. Oh baby, let's go. She doesn't take it slow, she's putting on a show. She's acting like a pro. Oh baby, let's go.
Having seen the gameplay, I just want to introduce a little bit more about the build. The build is 2H and bow. I think 2H and bow, compared to a lot of things, offers so much burst potential and movement and survivability through movement. If this is sort of not the playstyle that you want, or 2H and bow is a deal breaker for you, like for me, it's 2H and bow, like it's OG. It's fun to play, it's pure damage. But if you're wanting something different, my Dawn's Berserker build, 2H sword and board, the damage is good enough, but it's nowhere near high enough damage compared to this. But it offers that Berserker playstyle. I know sometimes the playstyle can be a deal breaker for people, so if the playstyle's not for you, feel free to check out Dawn's Berserker for a Tankier setup. But if you're wanting fun and you're wanting full damage, you know, this is the build for you. So, moving on. I want to talk about the build design. The build design in general, it's optimized to get burst, to have the burst capabilities instant. Now, a lot of sets I've tried. I'll take, for example, I don't know, Briarheart. A lot of sets and builds that people are running, they've got a really high damage, but they've got conditions. So, the conditions aren't much, but when you're playing open world solo outnumbered, you don't want to always have too many conditions to get to the optimum damage from your build. So, for example, Fury, you have to wait for it to build up, and then now you lose it, so you've got to capitalise on that. Seventh, you've got to proc. Briarheart, you've got to proc. This build can achieve maximum damage by doing three things: putting a power of the light on for minor fracture, making sure that you have got your weapon damage enchant on, buffed, and making sure you've got poison inject on target. Those things take our damage up sky high. But what is great is that these are things that are very, very simple. Even in an open world outnumbered situation, these are really, really simple things that you can do to achieve maximum damage. And I feel that for 2H and Bow, the playstyle, that really suits it. You don't want to be waiting for damage. You want to be in control of when you can get that damage and capitalise on the burst window on certain targets. The playstyle, as a result, it's very aggressive. It's really, really fun to play. In terms of Stamplar and what Stamplar's got, you might be thinking, why would I want to run this full damage set on a Stamplar? What's making Stamplar so good? It's got good reliable moves, which we'll get into. The crit damage bonus that you get on Stamplar, increase your crit damage by 10%, increase your damage done to blocking targets by 10%. You can build them very versatile. You can build Stamplar 2H sword and board, like I've mentioned in my other build. Check that out if you want something different. But you can build it so well into damage. This is just one example. We've got the minor protection, the fact that we've got our damage increase there, weapon damage increased by 6%. All these things make the build optimum to play that burst playstyle. And before we get into the full build, I want to discuss the concept of damage. Now, in this game, a lot of people think of damage, and I've done this before, think of damage as weapon damage or tooltips. But there are so many factors that you can build around that create what I'm going to call true damage. And this is what the build offers. It offers almost instant, without many proc conditions, instant high burst damage in a good window of time. True damage for me comes from three things: penetration, crit amount, and weapon damage. That is what's going to give your true damage that you actually output on people. So say if you look at a tooltip, without buffing up, 4-7, alright, this can go higher, but that is not always what you're going to put out on people. There's the factor of crit, there's multipliers, there's penetration. This build covers that, and I feel like that is what 2H and Bow builds need to be like in order to be effective, in order to work optimum, especially in a solo open world outnumbered situation. Okay, first we'll cover the character sheet and we'll look at our buff stats. Just let me find a target real quick. I think there's some guys here. Yeah. So, in order to buff up, fully buffed, literally we just need light attack or poison inject just to get the weapon enchant. And we can see almost 6k weapon damage. Now, that is really, really reliable, and it's the fact that it is higher. I'll explain why it's higher later. Most people have probably seen my bow and already guessed this, but it's higher. But 6k weapon damage just off that, and it's just so easy. That is not a target. It's just so easy to set up, and like I said, 2H and Bow needs to be like that. You don't want to be waiting around for the right time to play. You want the damage straight away. I'm going to get the 2H passive as well there, but you can see the recoveries have gone up a bit too much. I got the kill on the 2H, but a 2H there, they're like 2k. But regens, regens are solid, damage is solid, crits are just there. Penetration I'll talk about separately, but the stats, they're perfect for the 2H and Bow sort of all-round bursty playstyle. One thing we've not spoke about, max stam. It's not really on the low side. The meta seems to be pushed towards running low max stamina, and I get why, because you can't stack into it, you can't really multiply it. I've talked about the benefits that Stamplar gets. On this game, you want to always stack into what you get multipliers or returns on. So for me, that's weapon damage, stam regen, crit bonus. It's those sorts of things. So the max stam, it's not really a deal breaker. The max health, I think, is optimum for the way we play this, and the Magicka, we use it for one move. So it's just a cheeky bonus. Resistances, I suppose I can talk about resistances. Inside the room we've got 26, 23. Outside the rune we got 24, 29, 20, 24,000 and 20,000. And then we're clearing 30k with Bloodspawn procced. We run Bloodspawn on this build. So, we're going to be getting those high numbers, which is great on a 2H and bow setup. So the build. We run Spriggan and we front bar the Spriggans with a poison. This poison is on front bar because it's not as reliable. I don't need it as much as I need the weapon damage. So we go weapon damage on the back bar. If we look at our skills, I'll just explain this. In order to get the poisons to be procced, we need to be doing a light attack. None of these moves are weapon moves, and we can't hurt anyone with rally, so none of them are going to proc that. So we need to make sure we're weaving the light attack to get the poison bonus. But on the back bar, where the enchant comes from, I've got two options. We've got our light attack and we've got our morph off poison inject. What is this called? Venom arrow. These two things are going to give us a better chance of proccing the enchant to have that higher damage. So yeah, back into this real quick. We run sword. I think maul would be a lot better overall, but I just can't be bothered. Sword is what it is. It's a minor difference. Just make sure you go Nern, run sword, maul, axe, whatever you like, and these poisons, put them on the front bar. The rest of the Spriggan is made up from the jewellery. We go all infused. You can see that our max stam isn't low for this meta, but in general 30k, as long as I clear around 30k, I'm fine with this. Sustain was an issue, so I've gone for 1 stam regen and 2 weapon damage. And I feel like this is balanced, just with our rally. We can see our base recovery is, we're clearing 2k. So think about that with pot, think about the 2H passive that you're going to get, think about passively what the rune's giving us. Regens are absolutely fine. Maybe in time I'll change this to full damage that way, but for me this is balanced. You can have all the damage in the world, if you're not surviving and you're not getting those kills, you're not doing anything with it open world. So that's where we finish off the Spriggan. You've probably guessed it, but the next set is New Moon. These two paired together are insane, as well as Master's Bow, as well as Bloodspawn. I didn't think the build would be this good, but it really, really is. And like I say, it's giving true damage. I mean, if we talk about our Spriggans before, and what we're getting from Spriggans, we're getting our max stam line, our weapon damage line, and our flat pen. I'll go through the pen calculation later on in the build video, but the true damage, what actually appears on target, is coming from our crazy high weapon damage, our crazy high crit, our crit multipliers, and the fact that our pen is through the roof. So pairing that with New Moon works really, really well. With New Moon, we've got the crit, like I said, we're stacking into that, damage, more damage, physical penetration, and then the weapon damage. We've got this all the time, so this isn't split barred. Spriggans is the one we want to have front bar. Yes, we've got New Moon active all the time, and yes, we've got to deal with the increase the cost of your active abilities by 5%. Shout out Rosie right there, super crafter. But it's worth it, guys, trust me. 2 damage sets split like this, New Moon and Spriggan, it's worth running. Obviously we can craft this all medium. In terms of enchants, I believe I go, yeah, try. So 3 try enchants. That just helps get the max health up a little bit, but you can do what you like with that. All in pen. So these are the rest of our medium pieces. New Moon on the body, and then we take Bloodspawn heavy and Bloodspawn light just to give that Undaunted. We're sort of not stacking into health but getting it passively, and the Undaunted is key to get the max stamina up to a decent point around 30k, and to get max health to 30k as well. So those are pretty much our sets. I'll talk a little bit about Master's Bow actually. I run this defending. I just feel like resistances are needed to an extent. You could run Infused, you could run Nern, that's entirely your call. If you want a more defensive option, like I feel like the damage is there and some. Like in the first clips, you could see the damage, you could see the 10k crits, 9k crits on a Power of Light. Like the damage is there, and this really helps. We increase our damage by 301 on target. So when I showed the 6k weapon damage, we actually achieve higher than that. That's what I mean by true damage, hidden damage. And the proc condition, like I said, to get all of this damage, it's really, really simple. We literally need to have light attack, venom arrow on target, make sure we've got our rally up, Power of Light on for the minor fracture, and we are coming home with that damage. The burst is just raw damage. It's insane. It's so much more rewarding to play than any other playstyle. I'm loving this. So those are pretty much the sets. If you want a defensive option, albeit you could go Potinates on the back bar, just Potinates bow. But you know, for me, I like the extra damage that I'm getting from this. If you want to like be really defensive, Black Rose people love, but you've got to slot. You're forced to slot that skill, and I don't like the skill that you have to really use with this setup, especially because I want to run shuffle. So yeah, just stay away from that, man. It's carry. But Potinate's bow would be an option to keep the playstyle and to have a little bit better survivability. In terms of our race for this build, this guy is Orc, this guy, this girl, this is, I've been an Orc like for ages. I'm not going to pump any more money into Zenimax. Like the game is in a bad state right now. Not necessarily balance wise. I know like Magicka is feeling it, and Nightblade's just had everything stripped away from it, and Stamina Necro is just the tankiest thing ever. But this build puts Stamina Necros down. If you're fed up of seeing the 700 CPs, not necessarily 700 CPs, but the lowish level, low experience people being carried on Necros, like this build puts them down. But yeah, what I was saying was, I'm not race changing this. Like Wood Elf would be really good. I feel like Wood Elf would be a lot better. You probably know why. If not, just look it up. You'll see it suits that sort of playstyle. But I'm not pumping any more money into the Crown Store. Like the game's a shambles right now. I just feel better without doing that. So yeah, Orc still gives us good benefits though. We get our Fat Max Stam 2k, keeps us up to the, doesn't keep us high, but it keeps us up to the 30k mark, which is nice. This is nice for the max health, and then the flat weapon damage, and we need to make sure the movement speed isn't like a flat bonus, it's on sprint, so make sure you're optimizing sprint on this build as well. Like I said, Wood Elf would be better, but for me, Orc is just doing fine. Our Mundus, we go for Warrior. Like I said, you could switch around with Jewelry, put on more damage, switch around the enchants this way, but I just like the fact that we're getting really high damage on this. But by all means change this to what you like, but I do believe that setting it up like this way is optimum, and it works really, really well. The food that we run on this build, we run the Lavafoot soup and salt rice. This is just a really, oh my god, NPC. Dizzy swing, oh, they're doing me. Right, sorry guys. Wait. Yeah, the food. Lavafoot is just nice because of the amount of stam you get. Like, I know we're not clearing high numbers with our stam, but the stam pool we get from this takes us up to that 30k, which is nice, and the regens are great. When you compare this to Dubious lacks because you need to run Bone Pirate with it. Artaeum used to be really strong, but this took a nerf. Like, if you compare the fact that we get 3k health from this, but we only get 3k stam and 338 stam regen, health regen isn't needed at all, so we're not running TK. It's not like my Stam Sock build with the HOTS. If you're interested in a Stam Sock build, by the way, check that out on the channel. I'll link that below as well, but we don't need it. If we compare max stam, we're getting almost 5k compared to 3k, and then regens we're getting 500 compared to 338. Some people might be thinking, how do we make up the health loss, the fact that we don't get the health from there? What we do for that, I'll just quickly show in the character sheet, we just use our attributes. Now, max stam isn't the be all and end all. You can see that this thing's got crazy damage even with a relatively average for the meta max stam. So by putting 24 points into health, we get to, with Undaunted, with our tri-stats, we get to 24k. That's literally what you need to do. there's some freedom to adjust this. I know some 2H and bow players, mainly Nightblade when they were OP, but they would like be happy at 23k. Some people want to push 25, 26. Just play with these numbers however you like, to adjust for the food that we're running. I've talked about poisons, but one thing I've not talked about is our potions. Now, for me, Tri-Stat you don't really need, because we're not using that many magic moves. We use cleanse, and we've got enough magic to cleanse most of the time anyway. So I'd much rather have, and crit, for example, crit is already high, so we don't need the crit bots. So when you're running this playstyle, there's nothing better than popping the immovable, keeping constant uptime on it, or making sure that you're using that when you're going for your burst, just so you know that fat leap that is coming in slow-mo to you and maybe bugging out and not doing damage. You know, there's hard-hitting moves that you can catch you out, not necessarily through damage, but through the annoyance of the stun. Then the Zerg jumps on you. So these knockbacks, they just allow for that survivability, and sort of, they guarantee your burst. They work really, really well with a 2H and bow setup. Okay, on to our skills. I'll talk a little bit more about the build and sort of the design around it with the skills. So front bar, so Power of Light. Power of Light is just amazing. It's allowing us to get true damage on target. We're already stacking into so much pen and damage, and then we get the additional benefit of the minor fracture as well. So make sure this is always on. But you've seen, like, in the second clip, I think it was, in the tower, in the resource, like 9k crits, 10k crits. Like, this is just amazing. And it's not the damage that makes it good, it's the fact that it's built up over time. It's really low cost, and anything where you can put damage in and time it with something else, it reminds me of the pressure that Sorks used to get, like from Curse into Frag. Like, anything that counts down, it allows for burst. So this suits 2H and bow playstyle really well. Camo Hunter is worth having because of the Major Savagery, not because of the Major Savagery, but because of the Berserk. So Major Savagery we'd get when we're jabbing anyway. I suppose it's nice that we sort of get it while we're not jabbing. We get that anyway, but the real benefit for this is just because of the Minor Berserk. Now, Minor Berserk is crazy flat damage increase. So for 5 seconds after we deal crit damage from a flank, we increase our damage done by 8%. So 8% for 5 seconds on damage done, coupled with the crit, coupled with the pen, coupled with our moves and our really high burst window, it just creates some crazy damage. And it doesn't take much. Like, all we literally need to do, you can see it proc at the bottom. I'll just block this guy first. All we literally need to do, we can see it's up 5, 4, 3, the pink thing, 2, 1, is just jab from the side. Like, we're jabbing from the side and we're getting that. We'll always more or less have this up, so it's really worth having. We can see I'll just pull this guy here. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I want to put full damage into him. Yeah, just by attacking from the side there, 3, 2, 1, it's just dropping off now. We got it. So it's really reliable. The way, brings me on to the next move, jabs. The way jabs works, you're getting multiple hits, multiple rolls on crits, so you're always more or less going to get this up. So these two pair really well in terms of a full damage build. So jabs is just strong. The way that these things come out now, like, they've changed them a few times now, but it just feels like with a weave so fast, like you're just destroying people. It can be bad in lag in some respects, when they go a bit laggy and buggy, but most of the time, you know, they're performing well, and you're really putting people down with these. The full tooltip damage, I believe, is well over 5k. Obviously it could be higher because we've not got the poison inject. I'll quickly just try and show the tooltips by putting on this guy. 5k, did we have rally? Yeah. So like 5k, we're clearing 5k on these, and they're gonna hurt targets. They're gonna really put targets down. Spear is just a really reliable knockback. I've run Dizzy on the past. In Murkmire, I run Dizzy as my CC, and it was really nice when Dizzy, when you had the instant burst of knocking them up, and then you just jab. You wouldn't need an execute. You would just knock them in the air and jab them before they land. But Javelin is amazing. The true damage that it puts out as well, the fact that it's already ignoring resistances, it makes it really, really reliable. And it used to be high cost, but the cost on all of these moves, like we don't use Camo Hunter, so but the cost to go offensive and to attack is generally really, really low. So that's why I like sort of these setup, the way that it's set up. Rally, we need Rally on this just for that burst heal. It's just 2H and bow playstyle. If you're running Shuffle, you're running Rally. None of that other cheese. Like Elude is good, and you can set up for that with 2H Sword and Board, but without the burst heal. But this sort of playstyle, it just needs it. It really, really does. And then DB, we can take down groups of targets. Like, for ages, I detested the fact that this couldn't be cancelled. Like, you could cancel Dawnbreakers hard, you could get people into some tricky situations with these, but we've got really good damage AoE from jabs, really good damage AoE from Dawnbreaker. It's worth having over the other options, which would be Onslaught or Crescent, I believe, the class skill. In terms of our damage that we're putting out from DB, you know, like nearly 21k fully buffed damage, plus we've got all that pen and all that crit, and it's the fact that these numbers are high, and they're high instantly. We're not having to wait and mess around. We're getting the damage straight away, and hopefully if you watch the gameplay you'll have seen that as well. Back to the skills, you know, Dawn is really doing it for us, and the dot over time is not as strong. A couple of patches ago, when jabs was not considered direct damage and it was actually came under the category of a dot, sorry, you could double dip, so it was always worth running dots from Poison Inject, from Dawnbreaker, because you were doing that to get your jabs up anyway. But that's a change, but still, like, the dot is a nice fat dot. It's still nice that maybe targets will break and they're eating jabs to their face, and then that dot will tick. They don't get a cleanse off, they don't get a heal off. It's just nice to have in terms of taking down groups. And even though it's got a cast time now, you can still bait people. You can pull people to line of sights and just wind it up. I like to wind it up with an heavy and drop it. It doesn't feel like as good as it once did, but I'm back enjoying Dawnbreaker, so yeah. Okay, that pretty much sums up the front bar. Onto the back bar. Small room focus, really, really low cost. We can afford to spam this when we're resetting positions and moving around. This is our resistance buff, but it's also 240 stamina every second. That regen is really high. Stat regen, if you didn't know, so our normal regen of 2k, we'll call it, that is over 2 seconds. So if you were to compare this regen wise, you would double it. So we're getting really, if we're looking at it on our, it doesn't stack with everything else in terms of multipliers, but we're getting 480 stam regen just by having this, which really bumps regens up. And then the kicker, the fact that we get increase of 50% while in the rune, coupled with blood spawn, coupled with the fact that we can keep this down and sort of spam it to an extent and move in and out of it. It just works really, really well. It makes the class great. This change way back was needed. Vigor, whoa. That's what I'm talking about, boy. Right, Vigor, I'm going to move up here because this video is going to get ruined by a gank. I can feel a gank coming. Or a good fight, we'll have to see exposed. But yeah, back to it. Vigor is a really strong heal. The cost of increase, obviously we've got the cost increase from New Moon, but as you've seen, it's not really holding the build back because we're capitalizing on the damage and the regens. Just in our runes and with our rally, our vigor buffs 18k, so the vigor's nice, the heals in this are nice. We can make it a little bit higher with our weapon damage as well. I'll quickly just find someone and show that. Oops. Yeah, so 20k. So Vigor's clearing 20k. It's nice. It's a really, really reliable heal over time. Cleanse. Oh, Cleanse is a bad boy. You can be mobile, taking dots, taking damage. You can move around here, drop a cleanse, drop a pot, Vigor, rolling in, and you're back. Like, that is what makes Stamplar really strong. It's the only magic move that we are using, so even though it's a fat cost of like almost 5k, with our 12k mag and the amount of times we need to use this, we're laughing. One of the things I've not talked about is these offer really good passives, the runes that have recently been changed. I'll quickly find and go through these now. Obviously we get the better healing inside, increase the healing effects from your restoring light abilities, not this one. Yeah, we get this, so while we're inside the rune, we're getting minor mending, which is nice. Major mending, Stamplar, Templar, Rip, we all know about Deltia. I'm not going to go into that. Stamplars basically used to have major mending, but you know, this is good, we'll take this. And the block sort of passive isn't great that's coupled with it, but you know, this helps healing. These are worth having. They're really good. They make other class moves a lot better than what they were. Okay, Venom Arrow, Poison Inject recently got changed, so it's not offering the multiplier like it used to. It used to give a really high damage. It would tick so hard on people. Say if they had Poison Inject on them and you Dawnbreaker and you were jabbing, like, most people would be dying to that just because they'd break, and then the dot on Poison Inject would tick crazy high. We've not got the really good multiplier. That's been nerfed. So Venom Arrow offers the utility, and the utility is great. You'll have seen in the gameplay video that you can control reses with this at a better cosh than bash, and also the fact that you're setting them off balance, you're increasing damage through there, through the off balance. So that makes it just amazing. And Shuffle, obviously, it's 2H and bow. Shuffle is just the OG way to play. The fact that we're getting 25% damage mate from this is amazing. A lot of things will be classified under AoE, so you'll get the damage mate for those. And then we've just got snare removal on demand, immobilization removal on demand. We can also do that with our cleanse, but that's more costly, so I'd save the cleanse basically for the harder in dots. You know, sort of when you're breaking from a Dawnbreaker or breaking from something with a D-file, you know, that's when you want to be cleansing. As I've said, in sort of the burst rotation, defensive rotations that you need to be aware of, just make sure you've got Shuffle up, make sure you're using Vigor, Cleanse, your small rune appropriately. Jumping is really effective. Like, a lot of people, boat rolling is, you know, good for our speed, for the bow passives, but don't neglect like how good jumps can be in terms of avoiding damage and kiting people out. So that's pretty much like defensively what you want to be doing, always moving. This isn't sort of the sort of setup where you can sort of tank people out. You can to an extent, but most of the time you want to be drawing them out and running. And then most people, when you're playing outnumbered solo, they'll follow, and then you'll get that gap where you can then go into the burst. As I've said, to get maximum damage on target, we literally need to start off with a light attack and Venom Arrow. The light attack Venom Arrow will proc our weapon damage. We'll then have 5 seconds at maximum burst, around 6k with all that crit and all that pen. At that point we need to Vigor. Vigor dodge roll is nice just for that extra speed. We can pop the immovable, so we go Vigor dodge roll, pop the immovable, put the power of light on, and then once the power of light is on, we're jabbing. We're jabbing, we're getting the crit bonus, we're getting really, really high damage from that. And then most of the time you can land the spear and then finish off with some more jabs and the power of light will pop. But Stamplar is good because you can be versatile. You can mix it up. You can go in with a power of light, surprise Dawnbreaker. You know, just have a play with it. You'll get used to the combos that you can do, and you'll enjoy some more than others. But the basic one is literally to make sure everything's on target. Venom Arrow on, fully buffed up, power of light, time a CC, be that spear or Dawnbreaker with the burst, and you know, you can see in the gameplay, people can't take that damage. Even Necros, even tanky targets, even when you're outnumbered, the damage that you're putting out is pretty much just insane. Okay, last, I think I've covered everything. We'll quickly go over CP. This is just my CP. I think it's pretty balanced. I've looked into it and explored it quite a lot. Feel free to make those changes though, but just consider the change you make. So for example, say you drop damage by putting on Potentate's bow or you play a different sort of setup. Just read and look into these and sort of see what you're doing. Like, first example, we're sprinting on this build because I've kept it an orc, but if you've got wood elf and you're not sprinting as much and you're getting the flat speed from just a dodge roll, don't put in sprinter. You know, things like that are really simple. But we go 61 warlord, 8 sprinter, 1 siphoner. You know, it's just worth having. This might have been patched, but you know, this is just worth having just because it procs. It's an extra thing you've got to force someone to cleanse. Really, really nice split here. 56, getting a nice return of 2k stam regen from 12%. Tenacity. I've not talked about this, but like when you're making distance from your opponents, you've got time to just hold in that heavy attack. That heavy attack on bow and heavy attack on 2H is very reliable, and even if you're struggling outnumbered sort of sustain wise, it's an extra way that you can get really good sustain. So obviously if you don't play that sort of play style and you're not utilizing that, take this out of tenacity. But for me, it's free sustain. It's a given. It's just the way the build works. 81 into tumbling might be overkill, but I feel like the way this is set out, we don't need this. We're not running Troll King. We certainly don't need this. So I like 81 into tumbling for the OG dodge rolls. They're just nice, and we need the dodge roll for our speed from bow, and then the rest just slots nicely into Shadow Ward for that block mate. Sorry, not block mate, block cost reduction. Okay, 19 in Blessed is enough for me if you feel like the healing isn't necessarily there. One thing I will say is stick to the build. 2H and bow isn't easy to play, but when you get it down, it's very rewarding. So maybe you need this higher at the beginning and you can then lower it after, but the trade-off is with damage. It's either damage or healing. So I like just running 19 in here. Master Arms, direct damage. Everything is now direct damage Stamplar wise. We've got the spear, we've got the jabs, we've got the power of the light, we've got the first hit on Dawnbreaker. So we need to stack into Master Arms for this. Dots are just lackluster right now. Like, Zos have just made them amazing and then killed them off, and I feel like that's unfair. Like certain classes, Magicka, like they work around that sort of playstyle, and I don't like the way the game is right now. Like, why make something amazing just to then, they did the audit, like certain dots, like Blood Craze was a really good dot, Poison Inject was, they made all the dots equally intense. So things like Entropy, like that were just so easy to put onto people, were ticking like mad, and then they undid the mistake and they killed dots. So dots aren't worth using, unfortunately, right now, and they're certainly not worth wasting CP on. Precise strikes, we talked about the crit that we're getting from Stamplar, so this is really nice. Sorry, piercing. The pen calculation is as follows. So we need to total our amount from CP, so 3,852. We can then add that to the penetration that we are getting from Spriggans. We can then have the assumption that we're always going to have power of the light on target, so we can add the minor fracture. And then we can also add the flat pen that we are getting from New Moons. If you take that total pen and divide it by 660, we get a penetration. Sorry, we get a percentage, and that percentage is our penetration that we're putting in, sort of what we are mitigating as a percentage. On this build, it's sky high. A lot of people don't stack into it, and this is what is putting out the big numbers. It's that really high instant weapon damage that we've not had to wait for, or we've not had to proc. We've literally light attacked, poison inject, roll, and we're coming with that full damage. We've got the crit, and then the numbers that you see on targets are sky high because of this penetration. On a burst build like 2H and bow, it's true damage. It's god tier damage. It just can't be missed. Mighty 56, giving a 12% return. All our damage is physical, poison, and disease, so we would do that. Okay, defensive trees. Burst is a bitch. Like, burst will take you down, obviously, so I like to stack into this. These are just leftovers for resistances, so I like to put these into there. Resists, just make sure you're over 3k. I think a lot of my excess just goes into here. This might not necessarily be optimum, but it works for me right now. As I've said, dots are just like wet noodles right now. They do nothing. They I was going to say they tickle. Like, dots don't even tickle. So it's lucky that Stamplar's got direct damage from jabs now, because we don't need to worry about stacking into Thaumaturge. And flip side to that, we don't need to worry about dots, especially because we've got our cleanse. Like, this is the last thing that I stack into when I do my CP, because dots, really, they're in the game right now, but they're not the difference in between why you're getting the clips or getting the 1vx. Like, trust me, don't worry about dots. Just a nice split here in general to cover this. And then lastly, 15 into quick recovery. The way this splits works really well, and the 15 in quick recovery coupled with our blessed, like for me, it's enough feeling wise. So that's the CP. That's pretty much the build video, guys. I hope you've understood everything that I've sort of explained. As always, drop your comments below, drop your thoughts below. That's always greatly appreciated. The support that I'm getting, really, really great. Feedback, loving it. Stay tuned for more, guys. But for now, that's me, Judas, out.